Monotype.
Welcome to Creative Characters from Monotype, the show where we meet the people working at the intersection of type and everyday life. I'm your host, Tom Foley, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Hugh Miller. Hugh is a graphic designer, art director, and partner at Pentagram. His focus is in branding and visual identity, and he's worked with clients like Nike, MTV, and Ford. In 2024, ISTD honoured Hugh with the Frida Sack Award for his record sleeve design for Solo's At the End of the World, Plant a Tree. And in 2025, Creative Boom named him one of the 20 most inspiring graphic designers. Here's Hugh on how he approaches creative projects.
I rarely land on route one. It's always trying to see where else an idea can go. And so it's through research, experimentation and play and discussion and having those conversations, sometimes even difficult conversations, to push through to something that you feel rewarded by at the end. And I think it's quite easy to dial in a piece of work and accept that will do. But I think it's about trying to push yourself a little bit.
Cadley, my co-host, is here to preview the episode with me. Hi, Cadley.
Hi, Tom. Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too.
So I actually interviewed Hugh a few years ago, thanks to you introducing me after he won the award from ISTD. I was just really struck by how humble and calming his presence was. And when I interviewed him, he also was sat in front of this wall of vinyl records, his own vinyl collection, which I thought was really cool. So that's what struck me about speaking with him. But what did you and Hugh talk about in your episode?
We talked a lot about his career journey, his creative process, a bit about his design philosophy, like how he makes work, how he likes to push himself out of his comfort zone. And he is such a nice guy. I mean, he's super talented and he's super intelligent and sharp. I've known Hugh for a long time, but I don't think I've ever got so deep on many of his insights and approaches and experience with design. So it was a real pleasure.
Wonderful. I look forward to hearing it. And with that, I will hand it over to you and Hugh for today's episode.
I'm joined today by Hugh Miller, who is a rare talent, actually, someone I've known for a few years, but extremely gifted typographer. I'm making him blush now, I think. The word literate comes to mind. He's very literate in the medium of typography. His work is pretty effortless, I would say, but beautiful. And I've known Hugh for a number of years. I don't know how long, maybe 10, maybe 15, something like that.
Probably longer, yeah.
Probably longer. And I first came across your work when I worked at Dalton Mag, and I was working on the Nokia project, and you were producing some pretty exquisite work for Nokia in-house back then. And, you've gone from strength to strength. You had your own studio, Bond. You've joined Pentagram as a partner recently, and you've been involved at the ISTD. So it's a pleasure to sit down with you today and to talk about your work and type and just have the chance to catch up.
Yeah, pleasure to catch up with you again. It's been a while. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
I like to always try and start these conversations by learning a bit more about you, your background, where you come from and how you got into design and how it all happened for you.
Yes, well, I grew up in Birmingham with, Jamaican upbringing. Had quite a normal upbringing. I was always drawn to the arts. When I was small, I used to draw all the time and scrawl on the furniture on the walls. I got me into trouble. And I think, I always think I had that artistic appreciation for art and the creative arts.
That transition, I guess, from you get to secondary school, you have to think about a career and all you like doing is drawing pictures and, thinking about how to make things. When you finished school and you went into kind of college and university, was it a pretty typical path for you, or how did that work?
I was naturally drawn to looking into options for art college and furthering my kind of career in drawing. I used to be heavily into illustration and I used to paint a lot, figurative and landscapes. And I remember getting covered in gouache and getting messy, and that came from a lot of visits to galleries, and I knew I wanted to be in that space, and so I pursued that approach. It led me to getting a place at Bourneville School of Art in Birmingham, And so that was kind of a 3-year BTEC diploma. And I think that kind of opened up the palette into more kind of photography and fine arts and building and kind of shaping your approach and learning from your fellow students and forming friendships and becoming a bit more focused on what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. Yeah, it was great learning experience and early beginnings of the kind of your journey. Sometimes you look back and feel how your approach back then, how it's inspired you and influenced your work now. And so, I think it's quite formative, isn't it? Those early years, and you kind of start to take things in and get inspired by the creative arts and the people around you as well, and who you meet, and that all forms part of your personal development. And
it's still with you now, you think, in terms of underlying tastes or sort of?
Yeah, well, approach? I've always had this kind of illustrative approach, I think, and how it's kind of influenced my work. I went on to study at Kingston School of Art, and I almost went down the path of going into illustration full time. And so I had this kind of the two forks in the road. Do I do design? I ended up going down the kind of graphic design route.
Was that an easy choice?
I felt there was more room for me to explore within graphics, and I can kind of draw influence from my interest in art and drawing into graphics. And so I think I felt like I was less likely to be boxed into a style or an approach. And so, as your journey continues, you kind of bring in other influences into the mix. And so looking at kind of album covers, which I think kind of formed part of my journey into design, being a designer. And they're kind of almost like art within the format of a square. You'd put them on your wall. And I think the level of kind of ideas and storytelling within that kind of format, coupled with the music and the kind of connection between sound and image, had a big influence on my kind of approach. And so it felt like the right career path to pursue.
Was it around that time, I guess, when you decided to move into graphic design, like, did you have an awareness of typography before? Did it come later? I mean, you mentioned album covers. I was thinking it's the ideal situation where you've got illustration, typography, photography. These are the kind of basic elements of design for music.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of a cliche, isn't it? Kind of designers loving album covers. And
there's a reason we do, though, right? There's a reason for it.
Yeah, that's right. But I think letter forms that came through part of the course was really looking at letter forms in detail, kind of drawing whole alphabets with a rotating pen, and it gave you a really kind of good understanding of form and proportion. And again, we had a really good course, and I think there was that level of detail within the overall kind of course structure, which gave you a bit more insight into the work and within the kind of design space, so you can get a bit more specific about things, and that kind of gave you the kind of feel to decide with more conviction that this was really what I wanted to do. And so it's quite a nerdy thing to kind of get into the kind of details of type. I mean, I enjoy type, but I don't have probably don't have the patience to kind of draw and create typefaces. I kind of appreciate the craft, and I guess I like to explore the possibilities of where a typeface can go in terms of its expression, and something that I've always enjoyed, and trying to find what makes the font communicate in a certain way, and the range that in which typography can be applied is it's like an endless expression and endless journey.
Yeah, you understand how type communicates.
Yeah.
Is that something that developed over time? Did it come from working with other specific designers? When did you kind of come to that realization that this is what type meant to you and how you wanted to use it in your work?
Yeah, I guess it built up over time, really. I think as you kind of learn and develop new skills, and even going back to school, where we had a kind of school teacher who taught us how to listen to music, and he'd break down tracks, like isolate certain bits of music and then slowly build it up to the full track. And you kind of dissect the sounds, and he'd talk about the pace and construction of sound. And I kind of really learned a lot from that. It kind of almost related that to design, where You have an image, you have a title, you have a bit of text, and to break it down in its simplest form, I kind of related to that in a real way, kind of helped me see things in a different way, really. Kind of looking through the work and at the work. That always stuck with me, and it kind of inspired how you see things, and I think that's what it's about. You're shaped by your experiences, and it's about developing how you see the world through what we do when we work with clients and helping them to create a unique story that's authentic.
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, I think the next thing I was going to ask about was influences and kind of formative influences, because you mentioned it's often hard to pinpoint or like say directly where this kind of aptitude for typography or design comes from. But you mentioned the teacher breaking down music tracks for you and explaining, the component elements, but there's a lot of metaphor there for typography, even the kind of the rhythm and space and timing and stuff.
Yeah.
As you were kind of developing as a designer, were there any sorts of like design canons or designers or like individuals that influenced your work, or kind of not necessarily even aesthetically, like anyone you worked with? You also mentioned relationships are important to people you work with. So is there anyone along the lines, before you kind of set up on your own or kind of struck out as an independent designer that you really sort of gave you a kind of a formative experience? Well,
I remember being heavily into kind of Dutch design. I think at the time I was at Kingston, I think it was Gert Dunbar. He was the course leader of the graphic design course at the RCA. And I think, he had people like, I guess it was like, I don't know, the Why Not Associates who came out back then.
Yeah.
And then you can see the kind of Swiss school or Swiss style and the kind of Dutch influence, like obviously you can mention Wim Krauw and Studio Dunbar. I think I always compared the police livery from the kind of Dutch police, and when you compare that to the UK, it seemed to be, I always felt envious of the expression from something like that. And also, the Dutch PTT, it kind of chimed more with me and my taste back then. A lot less conservative for a state-run organisation.
Is there something within Dutch design particularly that kind of resonates? Because I know there's a structure there, but there's something else too, isn't there?
At the time, my thinking was that there's more of a freeness there.
Yeah.
The way they're mixed fonts, and there's a kind of a looseness. Yeah, it's very expressive and really appealing at the time. That's definitely a kind of early influence. But then as you develop and grow, and your influence start to develop outside of graphics, and you're looking at people like Max Bill or Joseph Albers, Annie Albers, and then things around color and form, and you start to piece those things together and start to form your own opinion, and then it's kind of a whole melting pot, isn't it?
Yeah. Something resonates with you and you take your time to understand it and to digest it and to bring it into your sort of repertoire as a way, or, in a way. And then it's this constant process. As I get older, I don't think it gets harder, but because you kind of have more of an opinion, like you said, like, do you find that now you're more selective, or you're more like, because it's easy to be cynical as an older person and as an older designer, but like, you seem to me like someone who's kind of maintained that sense of open-mindedness and sort of your ability to kind of be open to influences and inputs. Is that still there for you, or do you find it something you have to work on?
Yeah, I think there's so much around us to be inspired by. It's easy to feel, you're kind of overly saturated by information, and I tend to feel still open to finding new things and keep learning new things, discovering new artists. And it's all kind of culture that feeds your soul, and that's never going to change, really. That's a constant. And as long as you feel like you're pushing yourself and you find new ways to work and refining your way of working, and I think it's about bringing in new people that push you in a new direction, and creating a healthy dialogue and being critical, self-critical. I think that's what keeps me going, really. Every job you learn something new, and I think you're striving to create the best within the constraints of a project. And so, there's always something that could have been done better, and so I think it's just being really kind of self-critical and striving for better, whatever better is.
Sounds like a painful process. Is it enjoyable?
Design I mean, it's not always enjoyable, actually. I think, you see even a piece of art, you see it in its entirety, or a piece of music, and you appreciate it and you comment on it. But, you're seeing the shiny thing that's presented in all its glory. But I think you rarely get a glimpse into the process, how it was made, or the struggle behind it. And for me, that's what brings it up to beyond your expectations of a project. I always liked when you complete a project and it takes you a new place. I rarely land on route one. It's always trying to see where else an idea can go. And so it's through research, experimentation, and play and discussion, and having those conversations, sometimes even difficult conversations, to kind of push through to something that you feel rewarded by at the end. And I think it's quite easy to dial in a piece of work and accept that will do. But I think it's about trying to push yourself a little bit. And it sounds quite painful to say, but I think you have to enjoy it as well, and enjoy the process. And I think it's always at the beginning where anything's possible. The brief is there to be defined, and it usually starts off quite wide and with an open mind, and not prejudge or preconceive a solution. And it's the dynamic between you and the client and your team to find something that feels authentic and true. And I think that's what I strive for.
I want to change gears a little bit, because you went from working in-house at quite large brands, right?
Nokia, that's right. Nokia, Microsoft.
And then you established Bond?
Yeah, that's correct, yes.
When was that around? Like 2015 or?
Yeah, it's around 2015, 2014, 15.
So what led you there? What kind of inspired you to kind of just go out there on your own and move from in-house to agency as a founder?
Yeah. Well, as a co-founder, because
of course.
It came through working at Nokia. Obviously, Nokia being a Finnish company, Bond was founded in Finland by kind of three partners. And so it was through keeping in touch with one of the founders, Jesper Bange, who worked at Nokia. We'd kept in touch, and our paths crossed every now and again. I bumped into him at, I think it was an AGI conference in London at the Barbican. And then, he kind of put the idea to set up a London studio. And it came at a time where I was thinking about moving on from Microsoft. And so, I did the kind of in-house bit. I was there for a while. I think I was at Nokia, which transitioned into Microsoft, probably a good 8 years. And so it felt like a good time to try something new. And, and so, I think the opportunity was there. And so it was four of us from the team at Nokia who had worked with set up Bond London. That was another chapter which led to some great collaborations. And
you have like a favorite piece of work you did there at Bond that you guys produced? Or
I guess the one I was probably best known for producing there was the brand campaign for the Type Directors Club New York.
Incredible piece of work.
Thanks. It was a great project to get involved in. That came through another ex-Nokia designer, Bobby Martin, who's now working with Apple. So I think it's about maintaining those friendships, those relationships, and keeping a profile, and puts you in a good place where they can consider you for these projects. And so it's about always looking for new opportunities. And that was a great project to, express my approach to design and typography. And it was a great kind of platform. And how that manifests through the digital space into the print and the art direction came together pretty well. If I say so myself.
I think so. Pretty well. Understatement of the interview. Beautiful work, but also like one of those projects which seems like a dream project, but I imagine was pretty daunting.
Yes,
right.
It was quite intense.
The audience for this is pretty intense.
Yes, that's right. With that in mind, we did go through quite a few rounds and tests, trying to find the center and what made it work, and trying to find the right approach. And it's quite an ambitious approach where we'd engage with probably 10 to 12 type foundries. So it's a real mix of letter forms within the identity to kind of build that world in a way where it was kind of progressive as the Call for Entries campaign developed over kind of 4 months up until the final day countdown for entries. Yeah, that was the challenge I'd set myself. And so it felt like a progression as you engage with the campaign. And so I think that's kind of helped with the engagement because it wasn't the same brand expression for every post. It was more organic and it allowed me to kind of work quite quickly and at points not get too precious about the applications where they're more kind of fleeting within the kind of social media space. And so it had an energy of its own, which kind of gained pace towards the finishing line. And I think, it was great to interact with all the different foundries. You know, it had Gritty Type and Dynamo, Muir McNeil. I think it became more than just a project. There's a sense of community around the project, and it was an opportunity to connect with people who I admired from afar, and they were kind enough to donate their typeface. And I think it became more than just delivering a kind of project. I always find that the best projects, the outcomes aren't just about the end result, but the people you meet, the time you have working on it, and what you learned from it as well. There's value in that as well.
Yeah. The importance of maintaining these like meaningful relationships is a really important part of the creative process, is that being able to understand who you work well with, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think it can be the difference between an okay project and an amazing project.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think it's the whole dynamics. It's kind of, I used to talk about how with design studios and your team, it's like being in a band, isn't it? You're kind of jamming together, working on intense projects sometimes. And you have disagreements or different points of view or different vision for the project. And I think it's navigating those relationships within the team and giving people space to grow and trusting who you work with. We're a people business, aren't we? We work with people, clients and different temperaments. And I think it's getting to know and navigate different emotions. It's such a balancing act, isn't it? Many plates spinning at once. It's never just one thing. It's multiple micro things that sometimes are invisible, but you're kind of firing on all cylinders, really. And it all affects the end result and your mentality and your attitude to your work. And I think it's about trying to acknowledge and get a balance, find that balance, really. And sometimes you get it wrong, you know.
Can you share when it went wrong? Or are you reluctant to do that?
I think it's how you manage things and maybe you can take on too many projects or maybe not handle certain things as best in different situations. And I think over time, you know what battles to pick.
That's a very important skill.
Yeah, that's right. What to let go of and what to invest your time in, and being more strategic and looking at the long-term view. I kind of used to get a bit annoyed sometimes when, you'd present work and you had a lot of faith in it and you believed in it and it didn't go through and you're told to go back to the drawing board. But over time, you realize that what you've done isn't wasted. It's all part of your journey. And that's why I end up often keeping a lot of the kind of process work and the revisions that lead up to the final piece, store them within a sketchbook. Because it's good to go back to and refer to your old way of working. And I think you learn a lot about yourself as well, where your head was at like 10 years ago to where it is now, and what you valued back then and the kind of things you were obsessing about. And I think it's great to kind of keep those things and they add value over time. They're kind of records of your personal development and your journey. And so it's about seeing things as one project in a way.
Project Hugh. Yeah.
Continue producing stuff, working on things. One job informs the next job. You build new partnerships, relationships, and it's all fuel for you to be a better designer, better person. So your values change and you value your life, really, your mental health. And
Yeah.
so you take on projects that will enrich your kind of social life, working with, for example, Giles Peterson on a project, and which is amazing, and working with them again on some new work, and just being around him, for example, and he's very driven, and his team and the people you meet during the project, and it just enriches your life. And I think you have to consider things in a more holistic way. The value is more than the project. It's what you learn from it, and your experiences during the project. And again, it's back to people, and you learning from people like Giles, who can manage 20 projects simultaneously, travel the world, engage, and the way he can join the dots and create opportunities. And it's a great inspiration. And so, it's enriching.
Yeah, that's a really lovely way to look at it. I mean, think about it more like, because design is kind of a lifestyle choice. It's not really, it's not a job you put down at 5 o'clock or whatever. You do carry it with you all the time. I mean, if you're in a bad place with it, it means waking up in the middle of the night worrying about it. But if you're in a good place and you're able to kind of repeat that meaningful connection with people with design, and I guess, like you said, the word you used a few times, it enriches you in a way, which is really one of the privileges of being a designer, right? It's that you have, you look at a design project, it's not just an identity. Like you learn about that thing you're designing for, that person you're designing for. You learn about all these different things around a project, right? They're the bits that give you that, I guess, give it the meaning.
Yeah, completely. Right. Yeah, you become experts on the job through research and understanding that whether it's the product or the brand approach, and you become experts. And so that informs and gives you a better steer on where to go with that brand. And I think that's the beauty of our profession as well. It take you in so many different places. And so I think, it's enriching.
You're very active. You do a lot of stuff. I know we probably don't have time to talk about this, but I know you like to collect. You're a bit of an archivist. You kind of mentioned that you have your sketchbooks that you collect. But another key thing you're involved in, I think, is ISTD, which you've been involved in for quite a long time, right?
I mean, maybe coming up to 4 years now.
4 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about what you're doing at ISTD? International Society of Typographic Design. I think you can probably elaborate on this, but it does have a mandate or a responsibility to maintain and push and kind of encourage young typographers to pick this up as a big, main part of their practice as designers, right?
Yeah, there's a real strong educational string, and the idea of inspiring the next up and coming designers and really celebrating typography and the craft. And it's been great to be part of the organization. I think, as you know, everyone works really hard and works within the capacity of their own time. And so it's going through a lot of change at the moment. I think they're coming up to their kind of 50th year. And so we're maybe planning some events to celebrate that. We've got an amazing team. It's been great to kind of help out and be part of the steering committee to ensure its future. And Monetize's been generous in donating some money that went towards the awards, which was the first awards competition and ceremony in 10 years.
It was 10 years. Wow.
Yeah. So it's quite a big event. And we had the event in Brighton. And
yes. I think you were the recipient of the Free to Sack award.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was for the solo album cover. I mean, we're kind of coming back full circle. That idea of, you're influenced by music design and album covers. And then you've won this very prestigious award.
Yeah.
For what was the name of the album? At the End of the World?
At the End of the World, Plant a Tree.
Plant a Tree.
Yeah.
And I've listened to it a few times. It's lovely. It's a really nice album.
It is.
But we can kind of talk a little bit about how you approach that project. Because again, maybe it's a good example of thinking about the people you work with, the importance of those relationships and how that comes through in the work.
Solo is, that's basically the artist Eric Martino. And again, it's about picking up again on the people you meet and maintaining relationships. And so I met Eric through working at Nokia. He was another designer there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, a lot of connections came through that company in terms of kind of career influence in a good way. Yeah, so he'd moved to San Fran to work with Microsoft, but he was always talking about music, and he was a very successful DJ in Mexico and ran his own radio show.
Cool guy.
Yeah, he's super cool. He'd engage in interviews with people like Blur, and he'd met Bowie and interviewed Primal Scream, and yeah, he's real heavily into music and this real passion. And yeah, it was an honor for him to come to me to ask whether I'd be interested in designing the packaging for his first album. And yeah, it was really great experience. I mean, I think what was interesting was that for years I'd always admired album design, packaging, and going back to one of your earlier questions about early influences, obviously, Peter Savile's work, and, Vaughan Oliver was a big influence, and also all the kind of Reed Miles Blue Note sleeves and their expressive type design and, ECM covers. Again, so much to draw from in terms of expression within that space. And I think, working with Eric, it was interesting because obviously he appreciates design. He's got a very knowing approach and knowledge around music design, packaging, and art direction. And so I think we kind of really felt like we were on the same page. So it was kind of a great kind of journey to bring that project to life. And again, it's that partnership thing where, engaging with the photographer, Andrew G. Hobbs, who I've known through working at Spin. He came in to work on the photography, art direction. And then the printers, F.E. Berman in Bermondsey, they were really key in terms of testing out the materials and bringing the print to life in terms of being generous with the tests and the stuff that went wrong that we kind of tried. And the project itself, it's very layered in its application and themes. And some of the codes are quite subtle and almost reflect some of the conversations we had during the ideation of the record. And so sometimes my work is not very clear in terms of the big idea, but I think sometimes it takes looking a bit closer to decode what the themes are. So I think that comes through my artistic influences as well, whether you're studying a painting and you're looking through the painting to see the themes, and they're kind of more of a complex story there, narrative, and multiple stories within one canvas. So I kind of look at it as a canvas where you can play with different narratives. And I think that kind of played into the music as well, and the kind of sense of the organic notes with the kind of electronic synth kind of tones within that. So you kind of try and somehow reflect the music, but at the same time bring a bold identity. Being an independent artist, it's a lot harder to kind of cut through. And so, not having a label behind him, it was important to create something that had a bit more distinction. And again, it's down to craft, and same way he crafted each track, the package was crafted in a similar way. And so it's all about craft, isn't it, really? And building a world and creating stories within that.
Absolutely.
To engage.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's an insight into your process too. Like the importance of working with people. You mentioned the importance of working obviously with the artist, also the printer, kind of the group of people to make something unique. And I think it was this year you joined Pentagram as a partner, right? It was or late last year, I think.
Yes, late last
year.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that. I mean,
Thank you.
That is incredible. I mean, what an amazing sort of pairing of, your ability and their heritage and their massive pool of people and resources. You're obviously pulling all your experience as a designer in-house and in agency, and then also a partner at agencies, and it's all coming together. It's like, how does all of this experience you have, and I don't know how long you've been at this for, but it's quite a while. Like, how is it kind of showing up in your role at Pentagram? And like, if you can you talk about any of the work you're doing there at the moment? That would be great.
Yeah, well, obviously it's a real privilege to be working at Pentagram. Going back again through my years studying, you kind of grew up with Pentagram.
We all did.
Early Alan Fletcher.
Yeah.
designs. And yeah, just the other day I was at the new V&A East gallery opening, and so it's been one of my kind of favorite brand marks. And I think it's just been a real privilege and amazing to be around my kind of fellow partners in the London studio, and coming in at a time where they've moved to a new office on Essex Road, and
Oh, nice.
and they have the kind of gallery as well, which is really open to the public because it's on street level, and it's all visible from the street. So it's a real kind of opportunity to create new experiences within that space. And so it's a great time to be there. And it's about trying to kind of shape and build my approach within the umbrella of Pentagram, but trying to find my way of working. Every partner has their own approach, and it's given me a bigger platform to produce work with obviously wider visibility, and from that, new opportunities are inevitable. And so I think it's really building on that platform, and there's more scrutiny, and
I can imagine.
you can feel more pressure, but I think it's about trying to enjoy every moment, enjoy the studio, and it's about bringing and contributing to the culture of the studio. And it's a great environment within the new studio, and you learn a lot from all the kind of new and older partners there. And I think the kind of dynamics and the conversations and the ideas that are kind of flowing through the space. And it's a thrill to have the opportunity to contribute to the legacy.
You're being very humble. It's such an incredible achievement in itself. I'm conscious you probably can't talk about work you're working on right now, so I'm not going to probe you too much on that.
I mean, I can talk about, maybe there's one project I'm currently working on. Yeah, we're working with the denim brand Hyatt, and that's been a great project to be involved in. It's a kind of brand refresh, and they have a factory based in Cardigan, Wales. Maybe it's a good one to talk about because it picks up on a lot of the themes we've been speaking of during our chat. And so the whole project expanded into bringing in a bigger team to work not just on the brand identity, but the image making, the art direction, and creating stories through the imagery, and creating a new campaign and shoot to be launched in the coming weeks. Yeah,
that's coming soon.
Yeah, that's been a really great collaborative experience, and it's about telling stories in an authentic way and bringing that mix of type and image. And so there's a lot of different narratives flowing through the project, and this idea of the factory being the kind of utilitarian space, and we've been documenting the machinery, and that has an influence on how you express the messaging. And it's kind of capturing the essence of the space, which reflects on the brand, and going out into Cardigan Bay and working with a great photographer and cinematographer, and building a kind of new world for them, really, but still based on their kind of fundamental pillars that they're established from. And so it's just elevating it in a new way. And so photography in itself is a language, and combine that with the type language, and it's a really compelling proposition to present. And then, what's nice is that they work in small batches, and each maker signs the jeans. So it's very kind of unique in that way. And so just drawing from that leads you to maybe creating a kind of handwritten font, for example. And so you got the kind of contrast with the handwritten, with the more utilitarian type approach. And then that kind of reflects on the kind of factory and nature. So you've got these kind of interesting contradictions happening, and compositions through the concept of contrast. And so there's something interesting starting to come to life there. That's been, I would say, a dream project. Yeah.
Amazing. Wow. That's great. I look forward to seeing it. So it's coming out soon, you said? Yeah.
Yeah. They're starting to roll out a few things, and yeah, it's been great. Been working with Jess Ellis, who's an amazing photographer, and Kat Garcia. We had a whole team of stylists working with us. So I think it's that sense of community, and Hyatt has that within the brand. There's a real sense of community spirit and craft and making, and there's so many great things to draw from that inspired this solution.
This one might be very tricky.
Okay.
I don't know. So, describe yourself as a creative character in 3 words.
Oh, right.
If you can. Give it a whirl.
Okay. 3 words.
No pressure.
Well, I think I had a similar question from another interview I did, but I had to use 3 emojis.
Oh, wow. That's even harder. What did you choose?
Like maybe the trumpet, because I was thinking about design and the process of like free jazz. And so it's that kind of talking about the dynamic between people and working together and throwing ideas in and improvisation. And then I had the kind of set square, which was that counterpoint where precision and detail, and then the heart, because I think you just have to love what you do and enjoy what you do. So that was 3. So does that count?
Trumpet, set square, and love.
Yes.
That's a pretty good answer. It's pretty unique, to be fair. Look, Hugh, it's been incredible talking to you. Really, really a real pleasure. I've known you for a while and we've never really had a conversation like this before.
No, that's right.
So it's been a real privilege to hear you open up a bit about, how you work, how you like to work. Before we wrap up, is there any kind of closing thoughts you might have on, where you're at, where you're going, what's next?
Yeah, well, I think, with these conversations, it's good to reflect, and it makes you remember things that maybe you forgot about. And I think you allow me to talk about things maybe that I haven't really discussed before on this format. And so the journey is still going, and I think it's about being optimistic for the future, and
which we need right now.
Yes, we certainly do. We
didn't talk about the elephants in all of the rooms at the moment, and we won't. I'm not going to bring you there. I'm not going to bring the conversation down.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Keep creating and enjoy the process. Mm-hmm. And it's been great to chat with you today.
A pleasure. Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
To check out Hugh's work, visit pentagram.com/about/Hugh-Miller or follow him on Instagram at Noya_Miller. That's NEUE_Miller.
Thanks for listening. If you like our show, please subscribe, rate us, and share us with a friend. Creative Characters is brought to you by Monotype. It's produced by Christopher Olin and Mia Sullivan. Special thanks to Pixie Podcasts in London. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Take care.